Hi, everyone. Today on I Think I Can Be Happier, Hannah and I are going to be doing our part 2 of our series on foundational routines. So today we're going to be talking about nutrition and social connection.
Yeah, I know. I'm so happy to talk about social connection personally because it's a passion of mine, being connected socially.
Yeah.
Something I really love. I got to go see BTS over the weekend, which was so fun and so
Oh,
exciting. And I spent the day with a woman that I met because we did a 5K together, and she just happened to be standing next to me. So I decided to strike up a conversation with her, and we've stayed friends. And now we've gone to a couple concerts together. And so we spent like part of the day in New York City together, and then we went to the concert.
nice.
And I was telling Eric, like, I spent something like, I don't know, 11 hours with her. And it was so great. It was so fun. And for me, that's like very energizing and
Yeah.
exactly what I need. And just how we
hmm
talked about in the last episode, like I know a lot of people to spend like 11 hours with the same person who isn't someone that you know super, super well,
Yeah.
what might be exhausting. It just really goes to show how these foundational routines do show up in everybody's lives so differently, and everyone's needs
Yeah.
are so, so
hmm
different.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like you talking about social connection is just perfect.
But I have to
Yes.
remember that not everybody is like me. Actually, like I think like most people are probably not like me. And so, I have to remember that this kind of stuff that comes, not only does it come easy to me, but I enjoy it, is hard for the people and they don't enjoy it. Like I'm actually married to someone who, you know, connecting socially is not his favorite thing to do, despite being
Right.
very good at it. He's very, very good
Yeah.
at it, but it's exhausting for him. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I
hmm
understand that
Yes.
completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like with all of the foundational routines, they're very personal. What
Mm,
works for one of us it's gonna vary greatly,
hmm
depending on a number of factors for each
hmm
person.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep. And that's why we kept saying, like in the last episode again and again, like it's basically, you make this work for you, right? What's the
mhm,
spirit of the foundational routine? Like what's sort of its like essential role
right.
in your life?
hmm
And then is it something that you want to give some more attention to?
Hannah, also just to note, I feel like just after, really digging into each of these, that, these routines are very much interconnected. There's a lot of overlap between them.
Mm-hmm.
So I know our last week we talked about sleep, and we're going to talk about nutrition today. So, sleep and nutrition are actually much more connected, I think, than I realized before,
Ooh, I'm
stepping
so
into all
excited.
this stuff.
Yeah, tell me more.
Yeah. Yeah, just thinking about the reading that I did, learning about how what you eat affects how you sleep. And then also the inverse of that, how you sleep affects your food choices the next day.
No
So,
way.
yeah, yes.
Ah.
I know it's fascinating to me how there's that relationship there.
So despite getting I wear like a smartwatch, and so it gave me a pretty high sleep score last night of 85, and it said I didn't really wake up, and I got like quite a bit of deep sleep, but I have been so tired all day, and I've also noticed that all I want to eat today is carbs.
Yes.
Now that you're an
Yes.
expert in diet and
No, no,
sleep,
no.
can you diagnose me? Does that make sense?
No. Yeah. Okay, Hannah, not an expert. Okay.
No, we are
Just
not
okay.
experts.
Just to clarify.
Yes,
Yes,
I just
but
accidentally threw you under the bus. No, we are
okay,
not
thank you.
experts.
No, no, no. Just disclaimer on this one. So, expert on executive functioning, but
Yes, there
not
you go.
on,
Yes.
these specific areas. We are learning right along with you.
Ooh, I just
Yeah,
had a good idea.
yeah.
What if we should get experts on for each of these four topics?
Great idea. I love
Okay.
that.
All right.
I love that. Yeah. And then they can give us feedback on all of these things we're saying right
Yeah,
now.
they can fact check
So
us.
see how many of my wires have crossed here
Yeah.
with what I'm sharing.
Yeah, if
So,
you start telling us that the most important thing for us to do is like eat ice cream and drink a ton of coffee, then we might wonder.
I mean, depending on the day,
Mm,
Um,
that's true.
yeah. Oh, I lost it. Hannah. Okay. Yes. No, I love the idea of having experts on. with each of these areas. Yeah. So going back to you craving some carbohydrates, you said you slept well though. So that's interesting
Yeah, I know.
because what I have learned is that when we have poor sleep, we are more likely to crave those like simple carbohydrates, which,
No.
as we know, don't give us a whole lot of brain power.
No.
So yeah, and so what's actually recommended is to have a little bit of protein when you wake up in the morning, particularly on those days when you haven't slept well. Just to really kind of fuel your brain and, give you a little longer lasting fuel versus those carbs. So I definitely notice for myself when I have poor sleep, I definitely crave carbohydrates and things that are maybe not as great for me the next day. I think part of the reasoning behind this is, thinking about, our brains, which I think take up roughly like 2% of our body weight, but they actually use like about 20% of our daily energy. So metabolically, our brains are pretty expensive organs, and they are running all day, whether or not we fuel it well or not. So what we eat really does affect the availability like of our neurotransmitters, our glucose, and our nutrients in the brain that we need to function, that we need to execute our day. So just kind of digging into that a little bit more, I learned a lot about the gut-brain axis, which Hannah, I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah, I actually got to interview a woman, Dr. Anastasia Galanopoulos, on Focus Forward, and it was really interesting. I got to learn a lot about the gut-brain axis on there. That gut-brain connection is pretty fascinating. Yeah, tell me what you learned.
So, and yeah, Hannah, jump in since you've already interviewed an expert on that.
Well, it was a while ago, and we all know how my memory is. So,
all right. Yeah. So the gut and the brain communicate directly via the vagus nerve. And it turns out the gut produces a significant portion of our body's serotonin and dopamine. So what you eat actually affects the system pretty profoundly. Our blood sugar stability is tied into this as well, and that's really relevant to our executive function. I learned that our prefrontal cortex is really sensitive to those fluctuations in glucose levels. So that's why, our decision-making, impulse control tend to suffer when our blood sugar drops.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
And one thing I've learned is that like many people who are neurodivergent often have like gut issues, like digestion challenges. So that would make sense.
Yeah. And also, just thinking about our diet influencing inflammation in our bodies. Chronic inflammation, which is influenced by our diet, is also linked to depression, anxiety, and some cognitive decline as well. So yeah, nutrition matters here.
I support a lot of college students as an executive function coach, and I've noticed a few patterns over the years. One thing that I've noticed is that the students who really take some time to make some changes in their, like in what they eat. Like, for example, I had a student who noticed that he was just eating a lot of carbs. So he worked really hard to get at least one meal in a day where he was eating a lot more protein and vegetables. And then like we said in the beginning, it's not we're not looking for perfection at all. So he was just looking to get like one really healthy meal in. Yeah. And he said he noticed such a difference. And I've heard that from a number of students who say like just putting even a minimal amount of effort into what they're eating makes a really big difference in their like academic experience. And then the other thing that I've noticed, it's like a really, really strong pattern. I've never taken any data on this, but the students that I work with that cook for themselves. So this usually means they live in an apartment because dorms don't typically have like a great cooking situation, but they're living in an apartment. So that's probably part of it. But the students who cook for themselves. So they live in an apartment and they actually like meal plan and cook for themselves, academically do really well. And I have noticed that their grades will start to go up when they, move into that situation where they're, living on their own and cooking for themselves. And I know it's not the cooking only, right? It's improved executive function skills. It's mature, like their brain is maturing. But I really think that not only are they practicing their executive function skills by cooking, but they're nourishing their brain more because they're eating better.
Yeah, that it makes sense that that our diets are not our diet is not separate from from our mental health, from our cognitive performance. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah.
Hannah, I wanted to share some of the research that I dug into as well. There was one study done by LaSalle that basically analyzed massive amounts of data, like from over, I think it was like over 45,000 people, like across multiple countries. And they found that having a healthy diet, rich in vegetables, fruits, whole grains, healthy fats, all that good stuff, was associated with a significantly lower risk of depression. That was a pretty striking finding with that many people across different contexts and countries. And then also another study by Macento found that looked at dehydration, which I thought was really interesting. I loved reading this one because I talk about hydration with my clients a lot. But the study found that even mild hydration before you start to feel thirsty, like measurably impairs our attention, our working memory, our processing speed. So again, those executive function areas.
Wow.
I loved reading that because before I knew that, that was a strategy that I often recommend to my clients, just in terms of like having trouble waking up in the morning. So waking up and having a glass of water, like starting with hydration before you have your coffee. And now I'm like, oh, there's more behind that than I thought.
Yeah.
So
that must have been validating to read that. I remember when my kids were little, the director of the preschool always gave that advice. Like, if you or your kids are having a hard time, everybody have a glass of water. Yeah. I know. It's so, it really does make a difference. So I guess you want to basically just avoid that thirsty feeling.
Right. Yeah, which during the summer months, depending on where you're located, I think that's really important to keep in mind. So yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Cool.
Yeah, and the only other thing I wanted to mention on that was there is a lot of research now on omega-3 fatty acids, like particularly DHA has been linked to like better working memory, attention, processing speed. So again, we're those executive function areas. But yeah, so there's a lot of great information out there on that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Did doing the research change anything for you?
I wouldn't say that it changed anything other than the hydration piece because Hannah, as you know, I did a big kind of like nutritional overhaul with myself several years ago. So I feel pretty good about where I am with that.
And you worked with your doctor, and like it was for
Yes.
medical reasons, and you worked with your doctor. It wasn't like you
Yes.
were like willy-nilly, like, oh, I'm just gonna eat this now and not eat that now.
So I eat a plant-based diet, and I had been vegetarian for most of my life, and cheese was like my holdout there. Loved cheese, but was able to do it. And again, that's what I needed, just for my own health. So I'm not saying you should do that as well, but definitely, yeah, talk with your doctor if you have questions about any dietary needs or things. But yeah, it made a big difference for me.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. So so we are definitely not dietitians. And, typically we would recommend like trying an experiment here for, maybe the next week or so. So definitely want to encourage you to, do what is best for your body and your brain. If you are interested in maybe trying out starting your morning out with either drinking some water or maybe some protein first thing in the morning, just to see how you feel, that might be a place to start. But again, do what works best for you.
Yeah, and reach out to your doctor.
Right.
I know
Yeah.
I got a lot of help from my doctor when I had some nutrition questions. I was kind of surprised. I didn't really think that I don't know, for some reason I thought I had to talk to a dietitian, but she actually was really helpful. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So just, bottom line, notice how you feel and,
Yes.
think about if there's anything you need to change.
Yeah. Nice.
All right. Okay. And Hannah, I'm going to
Mm.
dig into some social connection next.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so cool when I did my research on social connection. And this is actually why we decided to do it last, was because pretty much everything that I read ended up connecting back to the other foundational routines. Although I was thinking with sleep, it's so funny, like, who you sleep with depends on impacts your your happiness, which is true.
Yeah.
Who you sleep with does.
Yes.
Who you do or
Right.
don't sleep with, really does
Right.
impact
Exactly.
your happiness. So,
Yes. Yes.
so all I'll say about that is, if you do sleep actually with someone in your bed, check your quality of sleep. And
Yes.
do you want to spend the day with them the next day?
Right. Right. Yes. Good advice on that. Oh.
So anyway, social connection is hugely, hugely important. And I know in these days, especially following the pandemic, it can feel laborious to interact with people face to face and actually have a conversation. I remember this very funny video that I saw. It was like a parody video of what would happen in a high school when phones got taken away. And then there were these two kids sitting at the table eating lunch, and they were just like sitting there kind of slouched over, not really sure what to say. And then one of them goes, "So, do you like food?" And then the other guy was like, "Yeah." And that was the extent of the conversation, because they were out of practice, or
Yeah.
they just
Yeah.
really hadn't had any practice. So,
Right.
but
Yeah.
so if you lean towards that version of social connection, or you're more like me, where I can, just have a conversation with anybody, it's really important to find what works for you. Again, it's going to look different for everybody, and
Mhm.
and whatever it looks like, it is okay. If you are on the end where you don't get very much social interaction, I do challenge you to take a look at it. I'm going to cover sort of three aspects of social connection that can kind of give you some structure for thinking about your social connection. But I think it is really, actually, I know that it's very important for many different aspects of your health to make sure that you're getting enough social connection that's of the best quality. But there's so many benefits. It helps the body manage the effects of stress. Social support can lower blood pressure during difficult tasks. We know the benefit of body doubling,
Yes.
but also, like, if you have to clean the kitchen and you've been putting it off for months, and maybe invite a friend over. As embarrassing it is to expose your dirty kitchen to your friend, the actual support of having them there can make it easier to go through the task. So, and then we can also experience collective joy through something called synchrony. And that's maybe like we talked about movement, maybe dancing or group exercise classes or music events. Like going to this BTS concert, there were like 60,000 other people there. And I tell you, it was collective joy. That place
Yes.
was just like, it was another experience for sure, another level. And then this was super interesting. So there's two like major studies out there, and you may have heard about them. One of them is the World Happiness Report, and one of them is the Global Flourishing Study. They're both out of Harvard. So if it's out of Harvard, it must be good.
Right. Yes.
So anyway, these studies consistently find a lot of the, similar outcome or similar
Mhm.
benefits of,
Yeah.
of a variety of different aspects. But of course, I was looking specifically at social connection. And so social relationships are better predictors of long, happy lives than social
Mhm.
class, IQ, and genetics.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and we learned a little bit about that from Neha too, right? Neha talked a little bit
Right.
about that. So,
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
significantly delay mental and physical decline. So, especially as you get older, it's really important to
Hmm.
maintain and create new friendships. It helps you live longer independently, boosts your mood. Friendships protect your mental health during major transitions. So, moving, getting a divorce, getting married, like any, having a baby, any of those major transitions, illness, having friends around is just really critical. And then the other thing is it enhances the meaning that you get out of a positive experience. So you have this positive experience, but then having friends either with you when you're having the experience or after to tell about the experience enhances the benefits of that experience to you. And that reminded me so much of when Jody said one of the things she misses so much about her husband after he died was that she didn't have anybody to like report back to when she got home from a
Yeah.
fun night out with her
Yeah.
girlfriends. Yeah. And so that
Yeah.
reminded me of the importance of that connection. So, and sadly, as we know, and I mentioned this a little bit before, but there is a connection crisis going on right now, and they did write about this in the World Happiness Report, and they found that 19% of young adults globally report having no one to count on for social support, which is super sad.
Wow.
Now, this isn't happening in every country. There are some countries that are not experiencing these massive declines, but there's not many of them that are not experiencing them.
Yeah.
And it represents a 39% increase in reported isolation for young adults since 2006. And
It's huge.
we know what happened in
Yeah.
2008 with the emergence of the smartphone. And,
Right.
we're not going to get into that, but, work has shown that, while it keeps us more connected, more quickly connected, it does actually like physically distance us from people.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah.
yep. Yeah. So I just want to go back a little bit to the dimensions of social connection, which I mentioned in the beginning. And there are just so many things that I could talk about today about social connection, but I was thinking that I think the most sort of useful thing for our listeners would be these three dimensions of social connection. And this is written about in the World Happiness Report, specifically a chapter called Connecting with Others. And it's by Pei and Zaki. And they talk about quantity, quality, and structure. And so the quantity is like the number of existing social relationships from either total isolation to high connectivity. And you basically kind of want like a diversified support portfolio, which I thought was a funny way of wording it. But I've read some other studies that have said like it's really important to have friends of all different ages.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about my grandmother who lived to be 98, and I remember her telling me all of her friends had died, like all of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we get yourself some young friends.
Yes.
We need them when we're 98.
Yes. Oh.
My mother-in-law, like her closest friend is like 20 something years younger than her, and it's really nice for them. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that quantity, there are some questions you can ask yourself, like how many people are in your social world? And the number doesn't matter. The actual number doesn't matter. What matters is like, does it feel right? Or could you use more or cut out, or do you need to cut out some? Are you like spread too thin? That's interesting to take a look at.
Yeah.
Then quality is the actual or the perceived emotional, social, or financial support provided by these ties.
Mm-hmm.
And this really, really, really supports our emotional satisfaction and the perceived reliability of this social safety net that these people can create for us. Like, do you feel like if something really horrible happened that you would have people that could support you? I remember learning from a DBT therapist that I interviewed a really long time ago, so I'm blanking on her name. Put it in the show notes. But she was saying that a really great question that teens and young adults and even adults can ask themselves after they interact with people is, do you feel supported and do you feel good about yourself after spending time with people? And, I'm sure we've all experienced like people in our lives that drain us socially or make us feel not great about ourselves. And then recognizing like, is this person, is the quality actually as good as what I need it to be? It can be a hard question to ask yourself, but if you have like this gut feeling, speaking of that gut brain connection, if you have like this gut feeling that's telling you, wait a second, this person isn't really good for me, or
Right.
I want to spend more time with this person because I feel so good. It's really important to check in with yourself after you interact with people. And I really encourage my clients, especially my young adult and college students clients, to ask themselves that. I think it's not something that we learn enough of, that it's okay and it's important to check in with how you feel after you spend time with people. Oh, yeah. And then lastly, there's structure. So this is like the organizational makeup like of your social connections. So the organizational makeup, like such as like network density, like how interconnected your friends are, surprisingly has a big impact on your social connection experience. And so, I know that's so interesting. So, one great example of that is like, do you feel like you're part of a community? And and when you say community, it doesn't have to be this massive thing, like a big, huge club or church or something, but the people that you do spend time with, does it feel like some kind of supportive community? And that might even just be your family. So it can look really different. It can be friends, it could be your family, your coworkers, that's a community. You can have online friendships. Maybe you're in an online group. I know my sister made a bunch of friends in a baby, like we're all having babies in June group online, and then they took it offline, and now there's some of them that are really good friends offline. So and then also just these like brief interactions that we have with people out in the world. So we're just walking around, you say hello to someone, they say hi back, or you just have a chit chat conversation with someone, and surprisingly those can have a really big impact on your mental health, but also like creates more opportunities for connecting with other people and getting good experiences out of life. So I thought that was really nice. So what about you, Amy? Like how would you rate your quantity, quality, and structure?
Oh,
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
Oh my goodness. The area that I need to work on is probably the structure piece, because the question you asked, Hannah, about are your relationships connected to one another? I mean, yes and no for me on that. So I know I need to like work on that aspect of things. Like our neighborhood has a very strong community feel, and I feel like I can, rely on my neighbors that way. But I feel like I need to grow that aspect for myself a little more in terms of, the structure of things. But I love the brief everyday interactions, though. That's definitely something I think about when I have like those just kind of really quick interactions with people. Yeah. What about you, Hannah? Is it how would you,
I think for me, I want to spend more time spend more time with the people that I consider my close friends. I feel like the number of friends that I have is good, but I would like to put more effort into improving the quality. Not that they're bad. They're not bad. So like last week, seeing our friends, and we went to play pickleball with them, and I realized like, oh, like I really want to hang out with these people more often. And so it does take some effort to put that extra energy in, but I think that does make a big difference. At the end of the summer, every year, we have this big party in our backyard with like 100 and 120 people. And there are people that I only see, like there are some people that come to this that I only see like once a year. But what's really cool is that these people have all, like, some of them have made connections through that party, and then they see each other again, and they remember that each other from last year, or they end up seeing each other out in public, or just around. And to see like that party creating that structure for some people,
I love it.
And creating all those connections, really cool. So
that sounds great.
So anyway, like we said, whatever works for you, is there some kind of love and care you can give to any of these foundational routines? Whatever that looks like for you, whatever that works, however that works. There's no perfection, there's no expectations. Just know that the effort that you put in it will likely be worth it based on the research that Amy and I have done.
Yeah, and I think it's really important just to maybe reflect on, which of these foundations might feel like in need of attention in your life right now. Really just ask yourself, maybe what's one small thing that might help me feel a little better this week.
And keep your eye on the podcast, because we'll
Yes.
get ourselves some experts on to talk about these 4 things. And we only post bi-weekly, so it'll take a while. So don't hold your breath. But you can do the research on your own too if you're interested. There's a ton of really, really good resources out there. And just like we did last week with the last episode on Foundations number 1, part 1, we'll do the same this week and share some of the resources we found. So. Yeah.
Thanks, Hannah. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Oh, and you know what? I forgot to mention in the beginning, but if you can, follow us on Instagram, icanbehappier.podcast, and on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We're on there too. You can watch us. We are not 100% confident about it, but we're doing it. We're stepping outside our comfort zone. So come follow us, find us.
Yes. And just a quick reminder that this podcast is not a substitute for professional mental health support. So please take care of yourself and reach out to a qualified licensed provider if you're in need of help. All right.
Right.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Bye.